Welcome to the Beauty in Battle podcast, where we talk about winning in marriage by waging a war. I'm Jason Benham. I've got my girlfriend / wife, Tori Benham, with me, and we are here to talk to you about how Satan tries to get you to fight face to face with your spouse, but God designed you to fight shoulder to shoulder against Satan so that you can win in your marriage. Fighting together draws you together. We cannot wait to jump in. So here we go. Self-awareness in marriage. That's an interesting topic.
It's an important topic in marriage.
Do you think I'm decently self-aware?
I do. I think you've gotten a lot better too.
Borderline self-conscious about my love handles.
Yeah, there's a big difference between self-awareness and self-consciousness.
Yeah. Don't gravitate toward the self-conscious. You just want to be self-aware. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Now, before we go, because I'm going to let Tori just ride this pony. This is her sweet spot, so I'm going to let her do that. But what I want to do first is get to some jokes, and I'm waiting on my wife to let me know if she's got you got a joke for me?
I do. I have one from Christine Olivet.
Oh.
From her son.
Yeah. That's little William, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, little Will Olivet.
Okay. How do you clean in space?
How?
You take a meteor shower.
Good job, little Will.
Is his name Will?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
That was awesome.
His dad's name is Will.
I love it.
Well.
That was so good.
Good job, Will. Proud of you. You got another one for us?
I do. Kim Vincent.
Oh, Kim Vincent
In the clutch again. Do they allow loud laughing in Hawaii or just a low ha?
Jeez. Hers definitely
good.
lead in the corny category.
We have the same sense of humor.
Good job, Kim. Okay, now let's get back to self-awareness in marriage. Okay, so you guys have heard Tori and I've talked Enneagram before. Tori is a certified Enneagram coach and a certified emotional intelligence coach. So she knows a lot about the topic, but we've done a podcast where we talked about the 9 different types of Enneagram.
Right.
I think it was Discovering Motivations in Marriage. So go back through our podcast if you haven't listened to that. Go to Discovering Motivations in Marriage. I forget which podcast episode it is, but we talk about the 9 different Enneagram types, and it's easy to find out which Enneagram type you are. And so just go take any free test. But here's the cool thing, and what Tori has taught me, and I really love this, because although you may be a specific type, like for me, I'm a 1, Tori's a 9. And that 1 is like moral perfectionist, like I'm driven by perfection. Like even sitting here at my podcast table, I'm looking at my phone that's not completely squared up with the table, and I want to square it up. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I know.
So you're really motivated for everything to be right.
It reminds me of my good buddy and fitness instructor, Steve Pinkerton, who owns CrossFit Vitality and Vitality Fitness. He is just like me. I walk into his office and I see everything on his desk is lined up perfectly with the edges of his desk. So there's nothing like kitty corner or anything like that. It's all lined up perfect. Right. And so typically what I'll do is one of the first things I'll do is I'll walk in there and I'll like move a book. And if you want to mess with me, you got to do the same thing. Okay, so
that's so funny because I'm like, that's not me at all.
No, it isn't. No, but you know what? You do.
That's why God brought us together.
You do serve a purpose. So my type is a 1, which is more perfectionist. But what Tori has taught me is that there are 3 subtypes underneath that type.
Right.
Now it's not so. Of all the 9 types in the Enneagram, we all have 1 or more of these 3 subtypes, and they're called instinctual subtypes, which is kind of a little, I don't know, it just sounds a little clinical, but it's all about what's your initial instinct. And when Tori started to explain this to me, I'm like, honey, we got to do a podcast on this because I think this is really going to help people.
Yeah. So it's called instinctual subtypes. Okay. And so we all have these 3 instincts, these 3 human instincts. Okay. We use them all, or we should use them all. But just like with the Enneagram, how, one primary type is usually more dominant in our lives, right? We have 9 different types, but 1 is the most dominant. Yeah. 1 is what motivates us most. And because it motivates us most, we tend to use it the most, right?
Got it.
Doesn't mean that we don't use the other motivations. We use them all the time, but we just need to be aware and have self-awareness to what motivates us, right? What motivates our spouse. It gives us some tools to manage ourselves and some tools to manage our relationship when we have that awareness.
Right.
Then let's peel one more layer down and you get to the instinctual subtypes.
Yep.
And these are your instincts. And you have one that's usually going to be a primary instinct. You have a secondary one. And then the third one could very well be repressed, one that you don't really use as much.
Mind dormant.
Yep. But God gave us all three instincts and they really should help balance us.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm going to go ahead and get into what those three instincts are. They're self-preservation.
Okay. That's somebody that thinks of.
Well, let me just name them real quick. Okay, so we've got self-preservation, social, and one-to-one.
One-to-one. Okay. Got it. So it's like you, me, me, you, us.
Yes.
Self-preservation's me.
Yep. So self-preservation focuses on me. Am I okay? Am I, let's just do a base overview. So focuses more on me. That's right. Social focuses most on us. Is everybody okay?
Got it.
One-to-one focuses most on you, your person.
I need you. Mm-hmm. Got it. That makes sense.
And so the easiest way to kind of figure out which one is most dominant is to take this little litmus test. I'm going to give it to you. Okay.
Okay.
If you were to walk into a room with 6 or more people.
Okay.
Small.
Not 5 or more people.
6.
6. Okay. Has to be 6.
Small group of people. Could be a party or could be just a small gathering. Okay. Are you more likely, which one are you more likely to do? Are you going to figure out what's on the menu, what there is to eat? Are you aware of the temperature of the room? I'm too hot. I'm too cold. Where's the bathroom in case I'm uncomfortable and I need to find the bathroom? Yeah. Those types of things, those self-preserving instinct.
So that'd be the person that's thinking more like me right off the bat.
Am I okay? Is everything okay? Yep. And then, or are you more the type, are you kind of immediately aware of the whole room?
Right.
You see everybody and you're kind of figuring out when you're going to talk to everyone and you're just very aware of everybody. Okay. You might even see that someone looks sad, but someone looks particularly happy. Like you're just aware of everybody.
Or somebody's wearing a sweet pair of Jordans.
Yes. You're just aware of the room.
Got it. Okay.
Or do you gravitate to just one person? Are you like, you walk in the room and you're like, you scan the room and you're like, oh, good, he's here. Yeah. Or, oh, good, she's here. And you just, you go to that person and you're like, okay, I'm going to connect. You're excited to see that one person.
Right. Okay. So that's the 3.
That's the 3. Which one do you feel like would be most dominant?
Okay. Well, I guess it depends.
It does.
I would think that it would go at certain parts, points in my life. Mm-hmm. But I'm probably more the social. I'm probably more the dude that's going to walk in and
you're kind of aware of the room.
See everybody and notice that my executive pastor at the refuge has his 12th pair of Jordans on that are different than the ones I saw the 12 last times I saw him.
Yeah.
I'm going to recognize that.
Okay.
And sometimes I wish I wouldn't recognize those things.
Yes. Yeah.
But I am also a very hungry man. So I'm going to want to know, are we eating ribs? Mm-hmm. But I don't really care. I don't really care where the bathroom's at.
Right. Okay. And so looking at those 3, you might get a better idea of which one is dominant. You can also take these tests like, the Enneagram Institute has a, instinct test. Yeah. And, they're really helpful to kind of like figure out which one's your primary instinct. But so I'm going to go over the self-preservation instinct. It focuses on resources and survival. Okay. The social focuses on the group first and their contribution to the group. It's this herd mentality. Yeah. So it's often like, kind of like, I need to, I need to make sure I connect with that person because maybe we can do this deal together. Oh, it's kind of like this. You're very aware of how society works together and how important these connections are.
They sound like great networkers. Mm-hmm.
And then the one-to-one. Now, if you kind of dig into this deeper, some people will call this the sexual instinct.
That's a weird.
It is kind of a weird name,
one-to-one.
and I feel like it makes it confusing right off the bat because it just kind of puts this label that's
sexual.
Not really accurate for what it is. But it focuses on intimacy with people and chemistry. Like who do I feel? I feel, who's my person? Like I feel really comfortable with them because maybe you have a chemistry with them. And I know that we have plenty to talk about. And so you're just drawn to this one person, right?
And I've seen, and this is really helpful because it helps you understand yourself, but two, it really helps you understand your spouse. So I know Tori and I both know we kind of fall into the social subtype. So we walk into a room, we both kind of go see everybody, right? We're not just stuck to one person. Like we both go see everybody. But if one of you is more on the one-to-one or on the what's the other one? We focus on self-preservation. But your other spouse is a social. You've got to make sure that you don't think, oh, my spouse, he's trying to impress people. Look at him over there doing it. No, that's his instinct that he's got.
Yeah.
You know, and I've walked into a party before where Tori, there's friends of hers at certain times that are on the one-to-one scale, and they're trying to talk with her and just want her to be their person. And I'm looking over at Tori and I'm like, she's been talking with that girl for 20 minutes. And I promise Tori's thinking about needing to go and seeing some other people. So I'll walk over and just go, hey, honey, why don't you come over and say so? You know, it's like I get a chance to rescue.
Right.
So I think it's important that couples recognize which one they are.
Yeah. Us understanding this has been super helpful in our relationship, just as helpful as understanding the Enneagram, I think, if not even more. This is just a really good tool to be like, oh, like that's even with other people. It's like, oh, they probably have more of a one-to-one instinct. Yeah. And so that's just kind of like the dominant instinct in the situation, you know, that, or even like, I think with social, I think that they can be misunderstood a lot, you know, in social settings, because they are so aware of everybody. With some, like what you said, like with a one-to-one, they might feel like, oh my goodness, that's my really close friend, and they're not even spending time with me. Yeah, but in a social setting, it's like they're thinking, their mind is going a million miles an hour. Oh my goodness, I need to make sure that I say hello to them. I need to. Oh, that person looks kind of sad. Like I wonder if they're okay. You know, like the social instinct is really hyper alert to what's going on around them, but could easily be misunderstood by the one-to-one, because they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be at this party. I'm going to connect with this person, and then they don't get to connect with them like the expectation has been.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've even seen pastors largely misunderstood before, because he's your pastor and he's standing on stage, but his instinctual subtype is more self-preservation. It's more me. So they're more withdrawn. Yeah. Not as like fun loving and all that kind of stuff around people and in social settings as they are when they're on stage. And then people get offended. Right. Because they have this idea that your pastor should be a certain way. But I think this is really important stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting how all of these, play out and why they play out. There's a lot to be said, from past traumas or experiences that may have played into why one is more dominant, maybe why one is repressed. Because typically you have one that's dominant, one that's secondary, and then one that's repressed. Yeah. And that all a lot of times ties into past experiences, which of course makes so much sense. I grew up as a pastor's kid, right? Yeah. Where it was kind of an expectation that you make sure that you're aware of everybody.
Yeah, you have to.
Like you're the pastor's kid. There's this expectation on you, and you were the same way. Yep. Where it's like people are looking to you. Have you been? Did you say hello to so and so? Did you invite them? Did you that kind of thing? And so that kind of would explain. That was our upbringing, and so that naturally probably is going to be more of our dominant instinct. And
you can go, because you've taught me before, you can go from one to another. So I'm naturally a social, my instinct with everybody. But went through a period of time in my life kind of rather recently, where I had worked so hard for the last about decade that I literally just about had a breakdown. I was completely burned out, was just overwhelmed, and found myself not wanting to go to gatherings, not wanting to go to
Right.
parties, had to go out to dinner with some friends of ours, and was, it just, everything inside of me was like, let's just go home. I don't want to do this. That wasn't me.
Right.
So I kind of turned into a self-preservation where I was thinking about me.
That one definitely became dominant, which was interesting, where it was more like, am I okay? Am I going to be okay? I need to make sure that I protect myself from all these things that have been happening to me.
Yeah.
Like I can't be in this situation. And, and you had to get yourself healthy. And a lot of times with self-preservation, like as a child or even sometimes as a baby, they went through something kind of traumatic to where they weren't okay, that their needs were not their core, just, when they're hungry or when they were cold or when they needed emotional support from an adult, it wasn't there. And so what they had to learn was, I take care of me.
Yeah.
I'm responsible to make sure that I'm okay, because I can't really rely on other people. Now, somebody who would be a self-preservation repressed may have gotten all their needs met as a child and are kind of walking into adulthood not
knowing how to take care of themselves.
Not knowing how to take care of themselves. Their needs have always been taken care of, and I honestly can sometimes see this with my own kids, and I've had to really you can make your own food, because at some point,
mine?
It's my fault for sure.
Never. I'm the dad. I'm supposed to be coming down.
No, but it's like they come in hungry, and I'm like whipping them up something to eat. Now
make your own daggone food.
But I do have to, as a mom, like when you're hungry, you need to be able to make yourself something to eat, because I'm not going to be here in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so
you got to be able to
handle yourself. Yep. But that, so that's a good example of somebody who'd be self-preservation repressed, where they go off to school and they leave their wallet in the car, or they leave it at the store and they can't find it because they never had to worry about money.
They never had to themselves.
They never had to
take.
Their
dad was going to do it.
But somebody who would be dominant is like, they have felt that they have to really look out for me, otherwise I won't be okay.
Yeah.
And so, I saw that in you when you were going through that, where it was like this kind of it was a good thing. Like God gave us these three instincts, and that one had to rise up in you, because you weren't thinking about yourself and you got burnt out. You just were trying to do right by everybody else and do the right thing. And if anybody asks you to do something, yes is the answer. Right. And now you're unhealthy. And so you need to allow that self-preservation instinct that may have been kind of repressed for a few years rise up and bring balance to this situation.
Yeah.
And,
you can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
you gotta do that. But then at the same time, if you fall in love with yourself, then you're not going to love your neighbor either. So that's why self-preservation is important, but it's got to be limited. It's like for my own, I've got self-care and I need to take care of myself, but that is so that I can bless others and kind of gradually move into that social category. And the one-to-one.
Move into a balanced place where you're using all three in a more balanced way. But and that starts with awareness. I have these three instincts.
Yes.
So just to go over it one more time, self-preservation focuses on me. Am I okay? Social focuses most on us. Is everybody okay? And then one-to-one focuses most on you. Are you okay? It's kind of could turn into a codependency if it's not managed, if it's not in balance. A one-to-one where you're not okay if your person's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny because even with these being aware, my primary one was social, and I think my secondary one was one-to-one and then self-preservation. But with the one-to-one, I can be that way very much with you.
Yeah.
And so at first when I looked at these, I was like, oh, I think I'm a one-to-one because I do a lot with you naturally. But in my world as a whole, if I look at the way I live, as a whole, like if we're in a social setting, then I'm more of a social.
Yeah.
But so it can be, it's something you kind of have to dig a little into and really kind of think about how you respond. And then to be aware enough to know, okay, am I out of balance in any area? Am I so self-preserving that all I think about is me and my needs, that sometimes that one is so dominant that I'm incapable of seeing everybody around me? Or am I so social in that I go to one place and I'm aware of everybody, but I don't see my own kid?
Oh yeah.
Like my
We've
own
been in
child.
meetings like that before.
Yeah.
Where your kids are running around and you're locked in talking to me, and I'm like, your kid is about to take a Sharpie marker and write on my refrigerator.
Yeah. Right.
Like, either I'm going to smack him or you're going to smack him. And I'm going to smack you for not paying attention to your own kids.
Yeah. Right. And then there's, the one-to-one. Am I so, drawn to that one person that I don't see everybody else around me? And so it's really just being aware and seeing, is one of them out of kilter? Like, is this out of balance? And I need to bring it back into balance. And then also to understand that your spouses, and to understand, okay, that, I know for me with you, if I had known this at the beginning of our marriage, I think it would have really helped us.
Knowing that I was in the social category.
Yeah, because there were definitely times where I'm like, does he, like, I remember when we first got married, we would go places, you never introduced me to anybody because you were so laser focused on everybody and like kind of like with hobnobbing. Person. No, I probably should have used myself as example than you as example, but it just flew out of my mouth.
I love it.
But as your wife, I thought, God, like, can you please introduce me?
No.
But yet, if I can totally look back and be like, his mind is like so aware of like the people he wants to connect with. Yeah. It's really not a hit against me. It's just that's his dominant instinct. Yeah. And we could have talked about it and been like, and I think we did talk about it, but I'm sure it was more of me like, why don't you ever introduce me? You don't even know.
Right? What a terrible husband. Emerson Eggerichs and his wife, Sarah, they wrote, I guess,
Love and
Emerson,
Respect.
Yeah, Love and Respect. And one of the things that he says is the primary thing that you can do to get along with your spouse and to make sure that you guys are on the right track is to give your spouse the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Is to understand that they have
goodwill.
Intention.
Assume their goodwill. Is what he says.
What these three subtypes, the self-preservation, which focuses on me, the social, which focuses on us, and the one-to-one that focuses on you, knowing those three things with your spouse and in yourself is going to help you give your spouse the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a powerful thing.
Yeah, it really is.
So, okay, without further ado, I told you on the last podcast that I was going to do the Would You Rather.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do it. Okay.
Do it.
Would you rather get caught in the trash compaction of a trash truck?
Oh.
Or jump out of a parachute or jump out of a plane without a parachute?
Oh my gosh, this is intense.
Like you're just going to have to pick which way you want to go.
You're talking about dying.
I mean, I don't know. It's the first thing that I thought of. Is this not a good one?
Oh, no, it's not. Because you're
number our days, Tori.
No, nobody wants to
think
about how would you rather die? I think I'll
jump out of the plane.
Morbid.
I think I'll jump out of the plane.
Oh my gosh, I hate thinking like this. Plane, yeah.
Plane?
I'm not compactor. That's like
that would be
claustrophobic.
Awful. That would be awful.
Okay,
worst experience of my life.
So yeah, I'm not going to leave the would you rather up to you.
Are you going to do it
again? No.
You're going to let me. Keep this?
You want me to do another one?
Let's keep it.
Okay.
Okay, guys. You tell me which one. Reach out to us at Jason and Tori. In the meantime, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. And we love you. Thanks for listening.
We do. I was just going to say one last thing, that if you do want to take that instinctual subtype test. It's EnneagramInstitute.com.
EnneagramInstitute.com.
I don't think there's another way to take that test. So
yeah, if you don't know how to spell Enneagram, just Google it. It'll spell it for you. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you next week.